What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Mental Health Mondays. Today we have our beautiful, strong, esteemed, amazing guest, Urban Woodsman, with us back again. And before we get into talking about the subject that he wanted to bring to us today, we just wanted to remind you that we are not medical professionals, Maddie and I. We are just some regular Joes who are sharing our stories and that of our community, and all with the hope of helping others not feel alone. If you are having problems and need help, please either dial 988 or seek medical help as soon as possible. Remember, people, be well, and people love you. So let's get into it. Welcome, Urban. Welcome, Maddie. Let me point the right direction. So,
So today's topic is going to be step parenting or nightmare co-parenting.
yes.
I think Urban's got quite a story for us. So grab a snack, grab a drink. Urban always has a way with words. He helps us understand and relate. And I'm very interested to hear what he has to say today.
Yeah, serious topic.
Yep, tough stuff.
Urban, he likes the tough stuff. If you remember his last video, there was some tough stuff going on, but he's been through it.
So just a 45-second recap. First episode being the second guest for Mental Health Mondays. Talked about my nasty divorce with unique events and challenges that I faced through that. A lot of figuring things out for the first time in my life. At the same time, I got medically separated from the Navy, becoming a disabled veteran pretty much simultaneously, as well as becoming a single dad with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, all kind of right together at the same time. Unfortunately, my children's mother left after our divorce and was not in their lives out of her own voluntary actions for roughly 7 years. And I've got my current wife, who's been in a very nasty, never-ending custody battle with her ex-husband. And so they kind of come into play with today's topics discussion. So that's kind of the recap. So if you haven't seen that episode, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So again, as Maddie said, today's episode is talking about the challenges and the ways of figuring out for anybody who falls into becoming the role of a stepfather, and then the ups and downs of co-parenting, or in some cases, my particular case, quite a bit of lack thereof. So I guess we'll just I'll dive right into it. And
yes, you're comfortable, man.
these fellas can jump in with their thoughts and comments as usual.
Yeah.
Help me fill in the dead spaces. But all right, so like I said, very soon after the ex-wife and I got divorced, she decided to leave my state where we lived, and she went up to Virginia for about 4 or 5 months, and then went to California, back where she was from and back where we had first met when I was in the Navy. And then about a year after that, she went to a third and current husband, and then moved to Wisconsin. All 3 of her marriages, mine being the first and then 2 after, were to military members. So not to blast any stereotypes out there, but those that know, know.
Yep.
Again, never intend to talk negative. It's just this is timeline of what happened. As many divorced couples struggle with child support with their children. Child support ends up being a huge debate during the court proceedings, and it's quite a bit of a challenge at times to make sure that it happens once you're done with the courtrooms.
Oh,
So
God,
in my case, it took about 5 or 6 months before she even started paying child support. And I had primary custody of the kids. I've maintained primary custody of my 2 children from that marriage. So yeah, she for the longest time, she struggled to try to get out of the negative because she waited so long before she got going on it. But one of the biggest challenges when it comes to the co-parenting part is during the 6+ years, she made maybe a handful of phone calls. She didn't visit not once. She never sent a gift or a card for any birthdays or holidays. It was a real struggle, and for me, it was really frustrating in the fact that she had a couple of times where she told my oldest, who was anywhere from 3 to 7 years old, during this length of time, she made some false promises that she was going to come visit, and never showed.
Damn.
And that's really heartbreaking for a child that age, for one. And that's really stressful for me as a parent, trying to assist them in whatever way possible in coping and understanding without bashing the other parent. That's really, really tricky, really, really hard. And there's no book on how to do it. There really isn't. There are books. I will say that there are books on co-parenting. There are books on being a single parent. There's books out there. I've actually read a few, bits and pieces out of them, looking for answers, but it's really tough because everybody's situation is different. And books can't be written to be the answer for every single situation. So
Dude,
yeah,
100% agree.
It's tough, and you end up just winging it. So future.
Dude, and I don't understand how. God, like as a parent, like how do you walk that tightrope? Because like you as an adult, the situation, right? But then that's your kid, and you can't crush them with the reality of the world yet,
But at the same time, you want to, because you want to prepare them. You want to give them the heads up.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, oh God, even just hearing about it is like got me a little stressed, Like, fuck.
Yeah, it's definitely some sleepless nights, being up worried about it, trying to figure it out along with the rest of the world's problems.
Yeah. Dude.
So with all of that going on, in October of 2019, so divorced in 2013, pretty much in October. So, the ex-wife, I got court orders in the mail, in the regular mail. It wasn't served. It was in the regular mail. Every state's different. Counties even handle things differently. It's the legal system's tricky and crazy and doesn't make sense half of the time. But anyways, so I got court papers in the regular mail with my ex-wife taking me to court to requesting the court to completely flip-flop the primary custody of the two children and restrict my visitation to being supervised only.
On what grounds?
So yeah, the question, yeah, you raised exactly what grounds. So this is the point where my current wife's ex-husband comes into the picture. Apparently, my wife's ex-husband contacted my ex-wife, reached out to her, and said, "Hey, I've created all this dirt legally, mainly through, almost exclusively through child services, calls to child services, and making false reports, saying that I was doing this or I was doing that." And he could never, I mean, I wasn't doing anything wrong, so, you know, everything was dismissed, but it still looked bad just having a stack of, you know, so many visits and all this, you know, spotlight being put on me as possibly a terrible person and a terrible parent. And yeah. So he contacted my ex-wife and said, "Hey, I've created this dirt on your ex-husband. You could use this to go back to court to get primary custody of your kids." So two of them linked up in cahoots with each other to go after me. And of course, his objective in doing that was what he was trying to use in order to gain back or keep primary custody of the three children that my current wife had with him.
Right.
So yeah.
Jesus.
It was all because of him. Because she had gone almost 7 years without contact, without being involved, because she just dropped it. She just decided that I don't want to or can't handle being a long distance parent, doing visitation. I don't know. I can't speak for her, because yeah. So yeah. And they've been my current wife and her ex-husband have been in their custody battles since 2013. And it's just been on and off, like never ending. They're still in it. My wife is still in the courts dealing with him, and these three kids keep getting, every 2 to 5 years they've bounced back and forth between the two parents for primary custody 4 times in the last 9 years.
What the hell is wrong with the courts?
It's partially the courts, and it's partially this this particular ex-husband.
Dude, you're this is one of the reasons I love you, Urban, right? You are so controlled in your words to say this particular ex-husband. If it were me, I'd just be like, this stupid son of a, you know, like I'd be cursing left and right.
Yep.
I admire you immensely for just being like, it's just what is going on with this particular individual. Like, holy crap. The self-control.
I have self-control now, but I mean, like, before and after this, if you were here, you'd see me going off the edge. My wife and I, we do a lot of venting, and we can relate to each other quite a bit with each other's venting. So there's a lot of compassion. There's a lot of understanding. And
that's good.
Yeah, that's plays into why her and I can function so well together and work so well
Mhm.
together in dealing with these things.
Damn.
But yeah, so his goal, and it's interesting because when they separated back in 2010, and she tried to move on because everybody knew that just their divorce process took almost 3 years. My divorce process took a little over 2 years. I mean, that's
Oof.
just how it is with the court systems.
Yeah.
It's really sad and very frustrating.
Mm.
Thank God nobody was fighting over grandma's antique dresser.
Yeah. Serious.
No, instead we were just fighting over kids. And no matter what happens, the kids always lose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the terrible reality of it, is that the kids always lose. And the parent that truly understands that and cares about the kids losing, it's painful. It's really, really painful.
Yeah.
So his attack, my wife's ex-husband, his objective in every single hearing was always to attack and go after and bash and degrade whoever she was dating with or around,
Mm-hmm.
male wise. So at first
Yeah.
it started
Clearly.
with her stepfather, then it was one of her brothers, and then it was a boyfriend, then it was the next boyfriend, and then it finally landed on me.
Mm.
And it's always been the same angle of accusing of abuse and neglect on the children,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to dig up any kind of dirt on that male. You know, if one of them had gotten arrested or had a DUI or something, he had to highlight all negatives.
Right.
Yeah. In order to, one, discourage her from being happy with somebody else ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, to try to, keep the kids from her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like I said in the last our last episode with me, narcissist, textbook
Yeah.
narcissist.
I was just gonna say he sounds like
Yep,
an extreme textbook narcissist.
cream of the crop. Give him a
Yeah.
damn trophy.
Literally.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, that gives you that background, and I mean, to me, it was just like I couldn't believe he had the audacity to reach out to my ex and start this whole thing up with my ex just for his benefit.
Oh
And
yeah.
then when I went to the courthouse, I had to get an attorney because this day and age, well, I mean, for like the last 15 to 25 years, unless you're somebody famous, you can't go into a courtroom and talk to a judge and the judge listen to you, a word that you say.
Yeah.
Judges only listen to attorneys. They don't care what you have to say. They'll only listen to attorneys. So you have to get an attorney. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you might as well just write yourself off as losing the case.
Jesus.
Yeah. So with the whole co-parenting thing and trying to figure out where we're at and what's the best way to handle this situation of these exes prying away and trying to keep the kids from us, quote unquote, good parents.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we're perfect, but the parents
You're
that,
better than a full-blown narcissist, that's for damn sure.
yeah, exactly.
You're a good parent, Urban.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the part that I think that most people forget, or it just evades their mind, even as they're going through it. Anybody who's been in this situation of going through a custody battle with young children. The court wants us as parents not to share any information that's going on with the court stuff or with the co-parenting stuff to the kids. They don't want the kids to know. They want the kids to be left in the dark.
Okay.
The court's reason, from what I gather and what I understood from talking to more than a handful of attorneys, is that the problem is it's a delicate, thin line of boundary as far as whether or not the parent is alienating the children from the other parent and presenting the children information, history, timeline, like even if it's just cold hard facts on a piece of paper. We're not allowed to tell the kids. We're not allowed to show that stuff to the kids. The court straight up tells you can't. If you do, you will be in contempt, and you will receive whatever legal punishment the court deems necessary as being an alienating parent.
For sharing facts. Okay.
That's for sharing facts with the children.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, as simple as saying, hey, when you talk to your mom and she tells you that she's going to come visit you, I don't want you to get too excited. I don't want you to take her word. It's not a promise, even though she says that she's promising. Don't expect it, because I don't want your heart to be broken when she doesn't show up.
Right.
The judges don't want me to say that.
Wow.
Because that's setting the kid up in their mind to be like, well, I can't trust this parent. This parent is not trustworthy. I can't take their word for anything. And now all of a sudden they favor me, not her, because I said that to them.
But they're not taking into consideration the individual's own actions, because the parent can say whatever, promise the world, I'm going to take you to Disneyland, and then I'm going to fly you to New York on a shopping trip and all of this stuff, and they cannot deliver on a single one of those fucking things, and they're just allowed to do that. They're just allowed to lie.
Yep.
Like, what the hell?
All I was told that I could do in order to protect myself in the courtroom is just be there when they break down, when they realize that the other parent let them down.
Jesus.
All I can do is be there as a shoulder for them to cry on and say, I'm very sorry. And I cannot say anything negative about the other parent. I just have to be, apologetic, empathetic.
Right. What the hell?
Yeah.
And just pick up the pieces. That's it.
Yeah, just pick up the pieces. And it's really, really, really hard to do that. It's really hard to do that. Yeah. It's hard to hold your tongue. It's hard to watch it happen, knowing that it's going to happen.
You're right. Yeah, that's true. It's like you're seeing a train wreck coming from miles and miles away, and you're like, no, legally I can't say a word to stop this from happening, because it'll cause me to lose everything that I'm invested in. Like, that's stupid. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's about, and that word has a lot of weight to it in many courtrooms. Alienate. You're not allowed to alienate the other parent from the children, which is exactly what my wife's ex-husband has done.
Yeah, every step of the way, it sounds like.
Yeah. he in 2020 he left Florida, which is where they started out, where the court system that they were under with ruling from their divorce. And Florida's court systems, they will not let go. It doesn't matter if nobody's been living in that state for more than a decade. They don't care. They will hang on to a court case, to custody battles, divorce cases, all that stuff.
Really?
Yep, till the end of time.
Jesus. Okay.
So in an effort to, again, keep the children away from their mother, my wife's ex-husband went to Texas with their 3 children. He supposedly has, he doesn't supposedly, he has family, a little bit of family out in Texas. That's, I guess, where he's from. And so he went out there without saying anything to my wife. And when my wife was like, hey, I'm supposed to have visitation with the kids, why aren't you letting me have my visitation with the kids? The kids, I believe, are the ones that slipped that, oh, we're out in Texas now. We live in Texas now.
Doesn't that qualify as abduction?
Yes and no. Again, it's the court systems. It's our judicial system and their faults. And picking and choosing when to enforce things or how to enforce things.
He crossed state borders with the children.
We actually had, I forget what year. The wife and I were not married yet. We were just dating and she had moved in with me and we were living together, and had the kids all going to the same school system, and the tail end of South Georgia. He had the ex-husband drove up from North Florida on the second to last day of school when these kids were in elementary school. When the kids' classrooms were doing end of the year parties, and so the teachers were allowing parents to check their kids out for the rest of the afternoon, check them out early, not from the front office, but from the classroom.
Okay.
And so he drove up with his wife, his new wife, who coincidentally is the individual that he cheated on or with when my wife and him were still married. He went and married her.
That doesn't surprise me from a narcissist.
Yeah, and if that's not crazy enough, check this out. Her name is the same name as my wife.
Oh, really?
First names are the same. And then middle initials are the same.
Dude, what the hell?
Yeah, right?
That's like borderline creepy.
No, it's not borderline at all, man. That's like full-blown, like WTF all over. Like, who does that?
Jesus.
I swore it was an unspoken rule that if you cheat on your spouse, you don't end up marrying that individual.
Yeah.
Especially mainly when there's young children involved.
Dude. No, but clearly he has no rules and no boundaries. So.
And then, of course, the court system, the judges told my wife, you can't tell the kids that that's what that relationship is and where that relationship came from. So these 3 kids have no idea, have absolutely no idea how that relationship came about.
that they're buddying up to the lady that their dad broke up their family with.
Right.
Wow.
The judge said you cannot tell them. Why? Because that portrays a negative image on the father and sets up a negative image for the stepmom. And that's
Dude.
parental alienation.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So you see how that all ties together.
The court system kind of needs a punch in the face. Like a little, you know the kind that just is like, yo, you're making no sense. You need to have like the kind of crap knocked into you a little bit. It needs one of those punches in the face.
It's branching from therapist and psychological and social norms and behaviors in today's society, yesterday's society, even
Yeah.
has those brilliant minds in those fields have pushed themselves into the courtrooms and saying, "Hey, this is how you should handle this."
Dude.
Yep.
And it's not. It's not. It's not at all.
Right.
Jesus. Like here's the thing, right? Like I grew up around mental health, professionals, and I guarantee you, not a single one that I grew up around that I was exposed to, from childhood to adulthood, would say it's a good idea to, have the child be in the dark as to the nature of their parents' behaviors, and like isolate them in such a way from their wrongdoings. Like you need to be in touch with the parents, like as in reality, right? Like there's the period where your parent is the superhero, right?
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you need to be able to see who and what they are in all reality, and like that's a healthy step. That's how you transition into adulthood.
Yeah. So the question is when are you supposed to make that step? When do you tell them? At what age?
Yeah.
And the court doesn't give you an answer to that.
No, they're just like, if you do this, you're in violation. We'll fuck you up.
If you're in a current courtroom custody battle disagreement, then the court says you have to keep your mouth shut.
Jeez.
I don't
Okay.
agree with that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. That just makes me angry hearing about that. Like,
and from what I know, that's about 2/3 of our country. That's how they handle it.
It's dumb, is what that is.
Yep.
For any of you parents who've been dealing with that, my sympathies to you in mass, bro. Like, wow.
But no joke. The with that scenario with the coming up to the school, they checked. He didn't go as the father. He didn't go inside the classroom to check these kids out. He sent his new wife in to check them out. The stepmom that has no actual legal rights to do that. She doesn't have legal rights to do that.
Yeah.
Through the court system, she does not have joint legal.
She's not recognized. Yeah.
Right. She's not recognized through the court system as having legal capabilities to do that. But he sent her in, and because it's, freaking the same name for two women.
Right. Oh, I didn't even put that together.
Yes.
Oh, totally, what a sneaky bastard.
Totally bypasses over the heads of the teachers. And so the teachers just check off the name and say, yep, you know these people, go ahead, go with them.
Wow.
So the stepmom took them out to the car, and they went not home to their home in Florida. They went all the way to Orlando, Florida, a whopping 4 hours away,
Yeah.
to go to Disneyland or Disney World.
Sure.
Yeah. The goal was just to put some big distance.
Yeah, clearly.
And no one notified my wife.
Dude.
So when my kids get off the school bus at our residence and her kids don't, and she knows nothing, I know nothing, where the heck are these 3 kids? Where are they? And you called, and she called the school. Said, hey,
Yeah.
where are my kids? And of course, she called the front office, and the front office like, well, we don't know.
Yeah.
Are they not with you? Are they not at home? And like, no, that's why we're calling you.
Right. I was just thinking that.
Okay, so then so then the school had to backtrack and figure out what happened and where they got released and to whom they got released to.
Dude, and that's a huge liability issue for the school. Like, what the heck?
Right. The school should have received some type of ramifications for that.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, that's a huge mistake. That's a major mistake.
Yeah. I mean, who knows who they were handing the kids off to from a legal perspective, right? Like, those people could have been serial killers for all they know.
Right.
You know?
There was no checking of an ID card or anything like that. It was just
wow.
They gave the name, and the kid happened to know the person, so they're like, "Yeah, that's my stepmom," or or he was actually pushed these kids really hard to call her mom. Like, he did not want them calling her stepmom. He said, "You call her mom. She is your mom."
Well, clearly, I mean, it has a strategic advantage for him, if they do that.
So, and my wife kept trying to get a hold of him. He would not answer the phone.
Of course.
Yep. So she had the police get involved, and the police had a hard time getting a hold of him. Those kids didn't come back to us for almost 2 days.
Wow.
And the police didn't do anything to him.
No, that's kidnapping.
That's parental kidnapping. You look it up.
Literally.
In the law books, that's parental kidnapping. And
they didn't do a damn thing?
All they did was threaten him.
They didn't even write a report about it?
No. They didn't write a report. You know why they didn't write a report? Because if they had written a report, my wife could have filed a lawsuit against the police department for them not having arrested him and him not having gone to jail for parental kidnapping.
Wow.
So because they didn't do things by the book, they didn't write a report.
They didn't save. They in turn saved their asses, put the kids at more risk, And everybody talks about, oh, we're trying to do the best for the kids. Clearly, that's a BS.
Yeah.
That is huge BS. Like,
and that was just one medium to big thing that he got away with.
Dude, he took them across state lines to Texas, for God's sakes. Like, again, another case of parental kidnapping. Like, this guy is bold.
And he got away with that too. He's not spent 1 minute in jail for any of that.
And this is the guy that the courts are hearing wants full custody. Like, that's crazy, bro. Like, that guy should be the furthest thing from getting any sort of custody based on what you're telling us. Like,
well, so my wife took him back to court when she found out that he went to Texas and was not coming back, and that the kids were no longer going to be living in Florida, that they were going to now be residing in Texas, and they were going to be starting school in Texas, not in Florida. So at that moment, when she finally got a court date in front of a judge for this, the judge did an order to have all 3 children expeditedly sent to Georgia. Did a full-blown emergency pickup order.
Yeah.
To get the kids to their mom, to my wife. So all 3 children immediately back in my household, and I hadn't seen them. They had not been around me because of previous orders and previous judge rulings from the whole child services reports and the negative spotlight that he had put on me. These kids came back into my house, and they had clear, evident trauma. They were afraid to talk to me.
Jesus.
They didn't want anything to do with me. They avoided me in my own house. And it was like less than 2 years ago, y'all were sitting on the couch, leaning against me, watching a movie as a family. I took care of you. I did things with you, taught you things, and treated you like you were my own blood.
Yeah.
Less than 2 years ago. And now you won't even talk to me. You're afraid to look at me. Yeah,
Dude.
nothing. Like a total flip-flop in their behavior towards me.
That's crazy. That's great. And you have no recourse because it's not you're not the parent of them. So you can't say, "Oh, well, he's alienating the children against me."
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude.
So when they came to us, this was September of 2021. All 3 of them immediately had to have dental work done, like cavities. Like one kid had like 4 cavities, another kid had 2, and one that was starting to form. So 2.5 cavities.
Yeah.
And then the third kid had another cavity. Apparently, they hadn't seen a dentist or a doctor in the almost 2 years that they were pretty much primarily living in the country.
Wow. Okay.
And then their mental health was way out of whack.
Yeah.
Man.
And her oldest son has some other behavioral health problems. He's showing signs, clear signs of being bipolar himself, just like his father.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got ADHD.
Yep.
Like bad.
That's a hell of a mix.
Yeah. On top of that, absolutely hating my guts without even knowing why. Couldn't even tell the therapist why.
He was just told you were the bad guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was just fed that constantly, repeatedly. I mean, he had to have been.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way to get that result.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, because of this alienation against me and the mental and behavioral issues, this kid, this poor boy, any ounce of discipline and structure resulted in tantrums from hell and violent physical retaliation. A 10, 11-year-old that had absolutely no fear and no regrets to punch and kick and attack me.
Wow.
I had a black eye for about 2.5 weeks because he punched me in the face.
Ouch.
And I
Takes
had
a
to
lot
let it
to
happen.
do, black guy.
I couldn't fight back
Yeah.
because he's an 11, 12-year-old and I'm a 30-something-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not a fair fight.
Yeah. So I had to
Jeez.
just stand there and take it. And as the male, the father figure, the protector of the family, of the household, I would always put myself between him and the other kids, him and my
Mhm.
wife. I'd take all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as he started to pick a fight with any of the other kids, I'd step in between.
Yeah. Good
And
on you.
That's
let
because
him
you're a
run
good
his
dad.
army.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where there was two incidents where he was just uncontrollably going after anybody that was within 5 feet of him.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that has to do a lot with transitions too, bouncing back and forth between parents.
Yep, that
Yeah.
also
Very tough
heightens
on
everything.
kids.
So there were two incidences where one time the wife called the police.
Mm-hmm.
Said we need a little assistance with this.
Yeah.
Another time I called the police because the wife was still at work. I was by myself with
Mm-hmm.
all 6 children.
Dang.
Yeah. And so again, when we got them, back from Texas, we set them up with dental and healthcare. We
Mm-hmm.
got every single one of them had their own therapist. We had a family therapist working with all of us for the sake of the household.
Wow.
And the second time that we had this severe event where punches were thrown, um, household objects were thrown, house
Mm-hmm.
damages, a couple $100 worth of damage in the house was done from this child. Um, the therapist had a meeting and felt like it was necessary for this kid to go to a behavioral health treatment center
Yeah. It sounds like they needed it. Yeah.
for like a week. It was actually
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be 10 days, but it got cut short because in conversation between the children and their father, the father found out and requested the judge to bring the children back to him and his argument was, I don't have any problems with them when they're with me. They behave just fine for me. They don't hurt each other. They don't hurt me. And so the judge said, well, maybe I did jump too far too fast. And so he reversed his actions and sent the kids back to Texas, back to their father.
Are you serious?
Yep.
What? Oh my God. Oh my God.
So what did you do?
So when that happened, that's when I got the letter in the mail from the court from my ex-wife taking me back to court to do a custody flop with my kids. That those two things happened right then and there, like double whammy in my face.
Dude, I wish I had a punching bag right now. Like, I'm so pissed off for you right now.
Well, I mean, how my logo is with the axe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
my axe is my punching bag.
I get that.
Give me a bunch of logs. Give me half of a tree cut up, and I'll split the crap out of it.
Bro.
So this your kids going to Texas was in 21, right?
My wife's children, yeah, going to Texas, and
But
then my ex-wife, who was living up in Wisconsin at the time, trying to take my 2 kids away from me.
But right now they're all in Florida, right, with you?
So my custody battle with my ex-wife occurred between 2021 and 2023.
Oh,
Yep.
super fresh.
Yep, fairly fresh. And I'm not really said anything about it to anybody.
Dude.
Except for those involved.
I'm not involved.
So y'all have been in the dark.
I will not pry.
But yeah, so in order to end my wife's ex-husband's accusations, all his buildup of making that negative spotlight, in order to shut him up with all that, and for the judge to be like, yeah, I'm not going to take any more of that from him,
Mm-hmm.
the judge didn't require, but essentially her attorney, my wife's attorney, said, if he asks, you do it. He asked me to go take a 6-month-long, it was once a week class for 2.5 hours each week for family violence intervention, as if I was the abusive person.
Are you fucking serious?
Straight up. That's what I had to do. And this class, the way it's structured, the way it's designed, many of them are designed this way, these family violence intervention programs. You start off the class every week, you go in there, and every person in there goes around and says what they did wrong to their victim.
And if you don't say that, or you say that, well, I didn't do anything wrong, do they report that back as part of your progress to the class,
That's
to the
part
court?
of the progress report that goes back to the judge.
They probably get a lot.
Dude, this is the kind of shit you see and hear of like in movies and in TV shows where it's like, dude, I don't deserve to be here. I'm not the one who did anything wrong. And everybody else is in the room like, oh, whatever. He's just not facing up to his shit, you know? And like, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's an entertaining premise. That's fucked, bro. That's fucked.
6 months.
Oh my God.
And $350 for the class out of my pocket.
Every single week.
Every single week.
Man, are you still doing them, or are they done?
No, they're done.
Done. Did you learn anything from them? Was it worthwhile?
Yeah. So this is what I felt was going to be super beneficial with and why the mindset of not being able to be a normal stepfather. I had to figure this out because what I was trying to do, who I wanted to be to these 3 kids, I was never going to be able to do it because of the father. And yeah, I mean, I was at a point where I had no clue what to do. I didn't know what I couldn't figure out what exactly I was doing wrong. What was I supposed to do that would be right? I was at a loss. I was completely hopeless.
And that's one of the worst
Bro.
feelings in the world.
So and so I spent all those weeks going to that class, discussing my problems, my struggles, sharing my story, and and trying to get something out of it. I mean, because I paid $350, and I'm spending
True.
all this time that I could be spending with my wife, with my own children that love and adore me, that value their time with me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So the instructor, who had been doing this for 30 plus years, very much older gentleman. He was older than my parents. Um, his analogy for me, and I didn't quite understand it at first, but his analogy for me is my very specific situation because of the alienation, the severe alienation that their father had done.
Mm-hmm.
I am now a piece of furniture in the room. I have zero weight to trying to dish out any discipline. There's absolutely no respect for me as an adult, let alone a parent.
Mm-hmm.
All I could do anymore was sit there and observe and then call out wrongdoings. Like I was an announcer for a football game that
Yeah.
nobody was really paying attention to. That's what I was. I was a fly on the wall
Yeah.
that nobody felt needed to be there.
Dang, dude.
And that sucked for two things. One, I felt so degraded, so broken down, and powerless.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself was just so overwhelmingly stressful. I mean, it really sucked. It really, really sucked. It was really hard to accept that.
Yeah.
And is this
Um,
stuff you've been going through this year?
over the last 2 to 3 years, yeah.
Uh, so it's still
Dude.
fresh and recent.
Yep.
And yet you've been positive in the community this whole time.
Yeah.
Nobody has any idea that you've been doing this. You've been fighting this battle all by yourself.
That's my life.
Man, you need to reach out. I bet there's tons of stepdads in this community.
Well, like I said, I went to this class and I had this instructor, and he helped me figure it out. The second part that was really brutal and actually probably bothers me the most to this day is the fact that all the burden of dishing out discipline and redirecting these kids to try to do the right thing and teach them morals and values and proper behavior and etiquette and all that. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm nobody to them. The wife has to do every bit of it on her own by herself, as if she was a single parent.
I was just about to say, yeah, like for her, then why is she coupled up, to like deal with these parents? The guy has done such a good job of isolating her existence, like, God, I feel for her, man. I feel for your wife so much. To deal with that kind of destructive narcissism is insane, bro. Holy crap. And he's a bipolar narcissist as well.
Yep.
The father,
Mm-hmm.
who clearly doesn't believe. Well, of course, with his narcissism, probably doesn't believe he needs any therapy or meds or anything like that because he's a narcissist. Why would he? You know?
And he doesn't want his son taking any medication or seeing a therapist or any of his kids seeing therapists. He fights it all.
Really?
Yep.
Well, yeah, of course, they're his spawn. They must be perfect.
Yep.
Because he's perfect.
He doesn't see anything wrong with them because their behavior is almost mirrored to what his behavior is.
Wow.
So his reality is there's nothing wrong with them. They don't need it.
Right.
And this is 2 of your kids, right?
2 of my kids and 3 of hers, and then we have the one together.
Okay, so the dad is your wife's ex telling that to her kids, right?
To her kids.
Does that spread to your kids as well, or is it just?
So my kids, my 2 kids that I had with my previous wife, as well as little Urban, that you see, we
all know little Urban.
Yep, they have to watch all of this, not knowing the details, not knowing the specifics,
and they gotta be filled with questions.
Yep.
Man,
and I can't answer them.
Do they get along, the 2 different sets of kids?
Yes and no.
They do, like kids at a playground, but because of this stuff going on, it makes it harder in the home.
Yeah, it does.
It does. That's the worst, when a parent's problems affect the kids.
Yeah.
Like I said at the beginning, the kids lose no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
When the co-parenting cannot happen smoothly, when the exes nobody can get along, the kids lose the most. They suffer the hardest. Which even in my situation, you would think that they don't, that I got it pretty bad, but no, they've got it worse. It's
this is giving me. Go ahead, please.
No, I've tried explaining it to my oldest because Georgia's law is that once you're 14, you are at the age where you have the right as a 14-year-old to say, no, I don't want to partake in visitation with that parent.
Okay.
Yeah. So my 14-year-old son, who was 2.5 years old when his birth mom left the state and, spent 7 years totally out of the picture. He said no. He doesn't want to spend time with her. My daughter, my 11.5-year-old daughter, still has to go, and now she goes by herself.
Oh.
Dang.
And the summer visitation is 5 weeks long, and that's miserable for me especially, and she doesn't have fun with it either.
Yeah, I imagine. Dang.
Man.
So,
dude, what I was gonna say was so before we were recording, I was talking about a friend of mine that got divorced, not too long ago, and her ex-husband, just no papers, no anything, just said, you have full custody, I'll send you money. I'm not a parent, I don't want to be a parent, all of this stuff. And he moved out of state. I almost respect him more now a little bit for that, because he did not create any drama or any headache for her. He said, listen, you're a great parent, I'm not. I don't want to deal with things. I will give you whatever you need to support the kid, but I'm not going to be making waves, And if I'm in town, you want me to say what's up to our daughter, then cool, I will. But if you don't, I won't. Like I almost respect him more for it, than creating this destruction in the pathway. Yeah, like my goddaughter suffers. Of course, I had to watch that. I had to go through that, like seeing her really suffer. Like, why does my dad not want to be around? But God, at least that's better than somebody who's doing all of this crazy shit,
Yeah,
Like,
I feel lucky enough that I got at least 7 years of
God,
those kids not being subjected to that and not having to do all that back and forth stuff.
that's crazy, bro. And by the way, dude, like really between you and me, like I've said this to you before, but like, dude, hit me up, man. If you ever just need to vent, you want to hear the ratcheting knife, like whatever, like I can do to give you some level of just break, mentally, or just
It's
focus
it's
on something else,
it's
bro.
mostly been just the last 2 years. The last 3 summers. It's the last couple weeks of
Yeah.
that stretch that they're not here that that it really gets to me.
Dude,
And
I'm
and,
here
and
for
I
you,
do.
man.
The court order states that I get to do when they're with her. I get to do 2 video calls with them
Mm,
every week, and yeah, last handful of video calls have been really rough because I'm on the edge of tears, and my daughter's on the edge of tears. Well, she just straight up starts crying.
yeah,
Yeah, she
dude.
she gets upset. She misses us. She misses being with. I mean, she says that me and my wife and her siblings, we are her family. We are
Yeah,
her stability, her rock. And when she has to go do that visitation with her birth mom, she feels so left out of everything that we do during that time, and
hmm
and it just really feels the missing us. It's
yeah,
hard.
dude. I can't even imagine. I can't even begin to fathom that, dude. But that's what I'm saying, man. Like, if you need anything, you hit me up, bro. Like, seriously. Like, I'm trying to tell you that shit face to face as much as I can, even though we're across the country from one another. But like, dude,
Yeah,
I'm here for you.
again, and because my wife and I share what we share together with how our dynamic is
Yeah,
with all the children, we can usually be each other's backbones. Um, but when she gets her visitation, when she's been getting her visitation time with her 2 girls,
hmm
the son still has to stay out in Texas. He's not. The court system and the therapist, everybody is in agreement, except for,
hmm
except for my wife, because she wants him to come back to us really bad because she wants her son.
Yeah.
Uh, so she has to always go out there to spend time with him. That's
Mm.
how it's been the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that he causes so much violence and damage
Yeah.
physically to the family members as well as to stuff in the house. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in less than 6 months of being here, he's racked up $700 some dollars worth of damage. Oh, the
Jeez.
furniture, the walls. Yeah,
That's no joke, man.
yeah. So
Jeez.
yeah, it was. I mean, somebody had to draw that line. Um, but
That
yeah,
poor kid
so
needs help too, man.
yeah,
Like
he does. He needs. They all need to be pulled away from their father. As sad as that is to say that, I would think that anybody looking in from the outside, just if I didn't say anything and you just looked at documents, if you just looked at paperwork and some video footage from my security cameras, you would come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
That this kid really needs a long-term treatment facility program, something that resets his mind.
Yeah, clearly.
I seem to be the only one who's trying to look into that and find that avenue, find that route for him. The wife is not putting much effort in doing that. I don't understand why. None of the attorneys are doing that kind of legwork.
I bet your wife feels like it's a losing battle because of dealing
She
with their
does.
ex.
Yeah, many days she does. At the end of the day, she feels like it's a losing battle even when she has the girls, because the girls.
Yeah.
I mean, it took all 4.5 weeks that they were here for me to get some amount of breakthrough, for them to get one to ask me for a Band-Aid when they needed a Band-Aid. They would wait the 13 hours that my wife was at work for her to get home before asking her for a Band-Aid, because they didn't want to ask me. They were not comfortable enough to ask me for a flipping Band-Aid when they needed a Band-Aid.
That's crazy, dude. That's absolutely nuts.
It would take me almost 5 weeks to get past that, for that to change.
Bro, you have the patience and temperance of a saint. I'm convinced, man. Like, I could not put up with this kind of stuff without going full murderous rage. Honestly, like,
well, I've broken 7 axes and about 4 or 5 sledgehammers.
that doesn't surprise me one bit. I'm surprised that the number is that few. Honestly, like, Jesus, man.
So what are your tactics to deal with this?
Yeah.
Again, most of my tactics in the situations, in the times where, you know, the behavior, the child's, you know, acting out, being disrespectful, throwing a tantrum or whatever, is to try to take some amount of pride in being that announcer, being the guy, the one that calls out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get to throw my hands up and say, "Go!" You know,
Yeah.
with a little bit of enthusiasm,
Yeah.
in a very sarcastic way. That's not always appreciated. But for me personally, that keeps throwing out a little bit of exaggerated sarcasm. In my mind, is a lot better than freaking going off the rails and cursing like crazy, screaming like crazy, you know,
True.
which is just not helpful at all to anyone.
Yeah.
Except for me letting out that anger, that frustration.
Yeah.
It's a lot of biting my tongue. It's a lot of throwing the hands up and looking the other way, walking away.
Dang, man.
Where the hell did I leave my axe?
One can only take so many bites before it stops working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking about, like, your tactics. Man.
I mean, like, you know, when I love to go to the, you know, if I did that, this is what my parents would have done to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're lucky that you are not me. because my parents would have slapped the crap out of me. I would have gone, been thrown in onto my bed in my room, and the door slammed, and I would have not, and the lights would have been cut off to the bedroom, so I couldn't have lights in the room.
Mhm.
If I spoke, I'd be yelled at. I'd be threatened for more punishment, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. The wife struggles with this. This is what really sucks, is because she has limited time with them. So how much degree of discipline she throws, how much punishment she throws in such a short period of time, and what that does to the quality of that time that she has with them,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's like a losing battle right there for her.
Right.
So these kids end up getting away with so much and don't receive an equal amount of punishment that, per se, my children receive that are here, 80% of the time of the year. And so then what that does psychologically to my kids, like, why do they get away with stuff that we never get away with? Like, that's not fair.
Right.
They don't understand, and trying to explain that without giving those details that ends up alienating the other parent,
Yeah.
it all comes back to bite you in the butt.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't even consider like your wife has such a short time. If she had spent that whole time doing nothing but disciplinary stuff, the kids wouldn't want to come.
Right.
It makes
So
sense.
exactly.
So
So
they
then
do
it's
get away
like,
with stuff.
if you ever get to the point and the possibility of the judge having conversations with these kids, say, hey, tell me about your what the home is like with this parent and versus what the home is like with that parent, and what do you like that this parent does versus what do you like that that parent does, what you don't like, all that stuff. If the judge interviews each of these kids, what are they going to say about you? What are they going to say about
Mhm.
my household and the way my wife parents them, and what little parenting I'm is a bit of a joke what I can do.
Bro.
It's a
Yeah,
tough one. You-
there's so much that's involved, and it makes you want to hurl, because every little bit of it falls back and does a full circle to something else.
Right.
And
Everything's connected. Everything is just you can't make a move here without risking something over there, or you can't, try to do something positive here that won't be construed negatively over there. It's like,
or because
wow.
some of the kids' time is limited, they get away with more stuff. But your kids who are there all day long, every day, they don't get away with stuff, and they're watching these other kids get away with stuff. It's tough.
Dude.
I don't know how you do it, Urban. You're a tough dude.
Yeah.
So some days I don't know how I do it either.
But props to you, my dude. Like, really.
And the struggles that my wife has with her position in the whole thing.
She's
Yeah.
equally as tough. She has to pick battles, and
I mean, well, you pick your battles too, Maddie. I mean,
but I mean,
with your own kids, you don't deal with all the separate parents, divorced parents stuff. But even still, you and the wife, you can't fight every single battle with each kid all the time.
No, but I was one of those kids growing up.
Yeah.
So I got to be in that situation, but I hope to never be. No offense, but in your situation, it because it really does lose for the kids every single time, no matter what.
The long term outlook on it, and the hopes and prayers that the wife and I may have some ounce of wishful thinking and optimistic mindset, is that when these kids are in their 20s, early 20s, Are they going to come visit us?
Yeah.
I think so. Look at the oldest kid, 14, already made their stance.
That's my son. I'm not worried about my two kids. I know my two kids. My daughter. When she turns 14, she's gonna say no, thank you anymore at that point.
Yeah. But it's the other three.
But it's my wife's three.
Yeah.
And my wife,
Yeah.
how she feels about, is there any hope left? And for me, it's hard not to see that it's gone too long, too far, and that there's so much damage that it's not reversible. You can't reverse enough of it to get them to want to come spend time. It's and I've said this to many people. The Sigmund Freud type experiment of you seclude a father and his boy, and the father teaches his boy how to ride a bicycle a certain way, which the rest of the world knows that that's not how you ride a bicycle. But say for 10, 12, 15 years, that's the only way to ride a bicycle that this kid knows. He's been taught, it's been drilled into him that that's how you ride a bicycle. And say after those 12 to 15 years, the father passes away, something happens, he's gone. And so the boy now has to go and integrate himself back into society. Is he going to, how accepting, how willing is he going to be to see, to have it shown to his face, right in front of his face, that the way you've been taught is wrong. What you know is wrong for your entire life up to this point is wrong, is a lie from a figure that you adored and idolized,
right,
and is no longer with you. What that does mentally, psychologically, are you going to be able to accept that what you was taught is wrong, what you taught was a lie? And these kids, if they've spent X number of years being told that I'm a bad guy and that their mother is not a good person, when they're left to be adults and make their own choices about that and develop their own opinions, even if I show them, even if we show documents, even if we show videos to prove that what their father told them, the stories that they have in their minds are false.
No, it's impossible. Like, dude, in the Sigmund Freud situation, the only benefit that you have is that that's an experimental, right? So, like, out of pure necessity, given a long enough timeline, the child will deprogram what they were taught wrong, right? But in today's society, those children, outside of the experiment, there's no chance of it, right? Because realistically, he will still be around. They will still have relationships with them, right? And they have to go on existing and integrating with the real world. There'll be enough out there that will reinforce their current understanding. It's not a polar, like yes or no. You know what I mean? And then now, even if you show them the evidence, now you're just contributing to the narrative that you're the bad person because you're tearing down somebody that they love and they care about. So it's like, oh my God, dude. Like, you can only hope. You can only hope. That's literally all you can do, is you can only hope and be there for them when they realize that he's not, like that's sometimes, like that's your only choice. And they will come to realize that, on their own time. And you may not get all of them, but you may get one or two.
So this instructor for this class that I took, and he's always invited me to come back and share my story to others.
Mm.
And I haven't, but I always have forever an open invitation from him.
Yeah.
At no charge.
Pretty cool.
But with his analogy with the a piece of furniture in the room, he and I in conversation kind of developed an idea of, and granted, I can do a little bit of art, but I'm not a fantastic drawer by any means. But to do like a split photo or split drawing and have on one side of the invisible wall be personify me as an oversized chair with my kids sitting around, the youngest in my lap, and me reading them a story.
Mm-hmm.
And being the father that I can be to them. And then on the other side of the invisible wall, show me as this oversized chair with my wife's 3 children and them sitting on the floor doing something else, totally ignoring me, and me with this book in my hand like I'm nothing to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the instructor was like, if somebody would draw that, if somebody would do that art piece, he would hang it in the wall in his office and share that.
Jeez.
Is it hanging in his office?
Nobody's done it. I've not had. Yeah.
I was gonna say, Urban usually doesn't turn down a challenge like that.
I've thought about, and I really I should just do it. I've thought about going to the local college art teacher and proposing that as a art project for the students.
Yeah.
There you go. They probably love it.
And then whoever does the best too, I take copies of those with permission, of course.
Yeah.
To say, hey, somebody did it for us. Do you want one of them?
Dang, man, but it's also like so like frustrating.
So my advice to anybody that's even remotely in some kind of a situation similar to mine, one day at a time, and be humble, and do every bit that you can to relay those frustrations and that stress that you're under with your significant other.
Yeah.
If my wife did not know, if I did not try to get her to see the position that I am in, nor tell her that I understand the position that she's in, we would have divorced a long time ago. We would have not survived.
Yeah, you almost have really good communication with one another, honestly.
No, we don't.
I bet you do. I bet you do.
Our communication is terrible. Oh. I laughed about that, but it is difficult because I like to put the effort out there. I throw myself out there, and I'm all for, and I do it because a lot of times it's in the moment to where like, hey, I need you to know what is going on right now and how it's affecting me. I need you to know how it's affecting me right now in the moment when it's happening, because I want you to understand that I'm not raising my voice and I'm not shutting people out, because of this reason or that reason that you may think. It's because of this, and you need to know this.
Yeah.
And when I do that, because she's emotional too with whatever situation we're in as well for her own reasons. I'm really good, at least I like to think that I've learned how to be really good over the years at voicing that to her, at pulling her aside and saying, hey, this sucks. It sucks for you. It sucks for me. This is how I'm perceiving it. This is how I'm struggling with it. And then I ask her and say, hey, now tell me how you're frustrated with it. What's bothering you the most about the crap that we're putting up with right now with the kids? It's always about the kids, or our exes. She doesn't want to tell me. She's not as open to me as I am to her. Mostly because she's just not good with words. She doesn't know how to describe it. She doesn't know how to voice it.
Yeah, it's more a set of feelings for her.
Yeah, it's just her feelings. She doesn't know how to transfer that for me to understand. And yeah. I mean, not to say that I don't. When I look at her and I see her breaking down and I see her getting upset, obviously I can. I know her body gestures. I know her moves. I know, what level she's at. I'm pretty darn good at judging that. I've been through enough therapy sessions to know how to do that. But as far as the whys and the what for, that she has to voice to me, and she's not very good at that. So it's about cuddling up with her. It's about me showing affection and compassion, and just rubbing her back, or wiping the tears from her face, that kind of stuff, and just saying, hey, I get that it's tough for you. If you can talk about it, I want to hear. That's just being there for her. But most of the time I don't get any verbiage. I don't no words. So it kind of sucks, because that's the kind of person she is.
Dude, I still maintain y'all are doing better than most, like making the kind of effort that you're making the effort to understand her body language, her headspace, all of that. Like that's, way better than most people I know. So like, don't, any situation could be better, for sure. But dude, like y'all are doing it, and y'all are in the trenches, and I respect it. Like, crazy, like, wow. I can't even fathom, dealing with what you got. Like my tough days now, I'm just gonna look at myself and be like, bro, you don't have it hard at all. Like, get off your butt. Like, really
struggling every day, and you don't know.
Yeah, serious. So yeah, props to you guys, man. Really, the two of you for figuring it out and making it work on any level. I'm in awe.
Well, I don't know. Maddie, have you read parenting books? Have you done, sessions with your wife on how to better raise the kids? Yours are still really young. I mean, I've got my oldest. The wife has her oldest from her previous marriage is 15 right now. Then I have my 14-year-old, and it kind of trickles down from there with a walking 4.5, almost 5-year gap between the two youngest.
Sometimes at church, they'll give out good advice for raising kids.
Yeah.
But that's about the extent that I have.
So I can't tell you how many handfuls of parenting books that I've picked up, and I've read a chapter here or read a chapter there. Had therapists say, "Hey, read this chapter out of this book. Tell me what you think about it. Let's talk about it in the next session." And I've read it, and I've digested it, read it again, reprocessed it, and still thrown it in the trash and say does not apply to my situation at all.
I was just about to ask if you
I
had book
can't see it.
recommendations.
Jeez.
So you do not have book recommendations.
Yeah, there are no book recommendations because of the fact that every individual is unique, every situation is unique, every child is unique. There's an infinite number of factors that come into play, and there's not a book, there's not a therapist that can point you in the exact precise direction that you need to go.
No,
It's definitely with parenting. It's a hit or miss. It's a hit or miss. You have to be willing to accept the fact that you're gonna fail. The one thing that I've had a couple of professionals tell me is when you fail, go to your kid and say, "Hey, look, I love you to death. I need you to do this. And the way I handled it 2 minutes ago was terrible. I did terrible. So I should not have done it that way. And I'm sorry." That is the best way, especially in the preteens ages, from 9 to 13. We'll do so much for you as far as getting them to trust you, to come to you with questions about things rather than their peers. The sex talks, the relationship stuff, all the nasty, dirty, grimy business, drugs, all those things.
I think it's very good advice.
Yeah.
One of my biggest struggles is saying sorry to the kids, but
and the wife and I check each other on that.
She's making me learn. And you know what? They respect you more because they see, dad's not perfect, but
the moms love checking the dads. From what I've seen and from personal experience, the moms love checking the dads. But dads got to do it in a little bit more tactful way.
Men we're not prone to apologize.
Yeah. And it's also getting them to accept.
Well, we also have a different approach, man. Like our concern, our care, our love sometimes comes out as yelling and comes out as anger and aggression because that's how we express like fear and concern. See,
I like to switch it up so they never know what they're gonna get. When one of the kids, screws up, when they do something that they darn well know that they shouldn't have done because they've done it 50 times already and they've been gotten onto or punished or whatever. So then I sometimes I'll give them a little bit of shouting, raised voice.
Yeah.
And there's an ounce of sarcasm. Sometimes there's 5 pounds of sarcasm, brick thrown at them. But then there's sometimes that I will walk right up to them, get about 3 to 4 inches from their face, and I'll say, "Hey, you screwed up." and I'll just blast them, just call them out in a very soft, whispery type voice.
Yeah.
Totally out of character. And they'll be like, "What just happened?" And it just totally throws them off.
Yeah, totally.
And your daughters, I found out, at least with my kids, my daughters, that's the most effective way.
Interesting.
Yeah, is the super soft, out of the norm approach. The boys will get it. You yell and scream at them, embarrass the hell out of them in public, that kind of thing. That they will get it. But with your daughters, you go up to them, just real stealth mode, and you just
Yeah.
wisp it into their ears, and they're like, "Oh, fuck. Waterworks." Oh, I'm so sorry.
You done fucked up.
Yeah. It's frightening. Like, go Joker on them.
Yeah. I like that. I'm gonna remember that.
So we are at an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Crazy long. Sorry.
No, do not apologize.
Ever.
We said in the beginning, get some snacks, get your drinks. This is part 2 of Urban, and you told everyone you got like part 3 and 4 coming.
Yeah.
Do you have any closing thoughts for this section today?
In closing, I would say, understand that there's always somebody else out there that's dealing with worse than you in a slightly different way.
Yeah, dude.
So again, realize that it's not that bad. It's not the end of the world. Always reach out for help. There's always somebody willing to give advice. You can get a hold of me, and I'll tell you some crazy stuff that's probably worse than what you're dealing with in the moment. But then after I share my story, I'll be like, hey, if I was you, this is how I work through it. This is, it's one little thing at a time. Even if you feel like everything's circling back like it does for me, don't worry about when it's going to circle back. Just worry about how to make this spot in the circle go just a little bit smoother so that you don't fall off of the train track.
Well said.
At least if the circle is difficult to travel on, just make sure you stay on the circle. Just continue.
Yeah.
I mean, it may not get any better. It may get a little worse, but just keep chugging. Just keep chugging.
Keep chugging.
Hell yeah, dude.
Like that.
And if you don't know how to split wood, I'll show you.
Wow.
Awesome, man. No, thank you for sharing with us, dude. I have newfound appreciation, respect, and just depth of understanding of the court system is nuts for what you shared with us today. I had no idea it was like that.
It's very frustrating, very difficult.
Yeah. Like, holy crap. But yeah, man. Thank you. Really, genuinely, thank you. And we are always here for you, dude. Like, anytime you need.
Like I said, I have my moments where, when the kids are gone for X amount of time, or when the wife's girls are here with us, there's some rough spots to where I'm just like, ugh. It's hard to breathe. It's hard to take a breath. It's hard to move forward.
And that's if there's anything that we can share with the community at large, is that we all have those moments, whatever triggers those feelings, and just don't be afraid to reach out to any one of us, to any of your friends. That's the time where, you need it, and people want to be there for you. Like we say in the very beginning of this, man, like, people love you. People want to support you. People want to be in your corner. So give them that opportunity every time, you'd be surprised. You'd be really surprised. Alrighty, Matty. Any closing words from you?
No, I think Urban covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, he did.
And I learned that he's struggling silently. So hopefully, maybe someone will reach out to you who has experience in this and help you through this.
Yeah,
You don't need to go through it alone, buddy.
Well, again, the wife and I stick with it, and I've got my family, but
it's good
sometimes
to
I don't
have-
like to bother them.
It's good to have an outside person too.
Yeah, for sure.
And this community I know has a few divorced families in it. So hopefully someone out there will offer some advice for you.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds like you're doing the best you can already. And
No doubt.
you're just trucking through it.
Yep.
I'm proud of
over
you,
time,
Urban.
things will change.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Serious. Yeah. Proud is, yeah, definitely the word.
You're one of the toughest dudes I know.
No question. No question. Alrighty, fellas. Let's wind it down. Don't forget, everybody, we are not medical professionals here, but we love to share our stories and that of amazing, beautiful, strong people like Urban in our community. And, if you guys are having any struggles, don't forget to dial 988 or seek medical help. And always remember, we love you. There are people that love you and want to support you. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mental Health Mondays. We appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone.